So hello everyone, welcome you all into today's class. तो आज हम स्टार्ट करेंगे हमारा पहला टॉपिक after the introduction of the course of IT. So today is our first topic in first chapter, and the chapter name is about we have to discuss about the data, information, knowledge, and process. In this particular chapter, we have to discuss what exactly the data is, how it's transformed to information, and once we have the information, then how it's going to become a knowledge. Once we talk about this thing, then we have to discuss about some sources of the data, and we are going to discuss more information about it. So it's playing a very important role in computer systems whenever we talk about data, information, and process. Okay, let's begin with the topic. Today's topic, as I mentioned, we are going to start our first chapter, data, information, and knowledge and processing. In this chapter, we will be going to learn about the difference between the data, information, and knowledge. As like if single thing is there, like the data means a number. Okay, whenever we talk about data means symbol, number, or factor. Okay, then we have to discuss about direct source, indirect source. Then we have to discuss about data type. Like for example, it's static data or dynamic data. The static data means whatever you can see on my screen, whatever predefined, it's your static data. And now if I'm writing the dynamic, so whatever I'm writing, it is the dynamic one. It's not a take a main part. So whenever we talk about the dynamic one, it means it's changeable. Okay, and static means it's fixed. You can't change it. Then we have to discuss about the direct data, indirect data. Means like if I'm talking to you directly, and if you give my reference to someone, like for example, you give my number to your friend or anyone for learning of IT, but without my consent, or you take my number for sharing, but you give my number to marketing company and they are sending me the data. It is called as indirect data. Because my number is not collected for marketing purposes, my number is collected for sharing to someone for online class. So the purpose of collecting the data and the use of the information, the data. Then we have to discuss about like the quality of the information, which type of the quality you required. If the data is appropriate as per your needs or needs. Then very important, you have to discuss about the encryption. Very much important. And we have to discuss about the different methods of encryption, semantic and asymmetric. Means encryption means that you are locking your information for unauthorized access. Or maybe you wanted to transmit the data from one place to another place. And you don't want any hacker can access your information. But encrypting the data doesn't mean that your data is not going to be hacked. But yes, encryption is going to make your data or make your data for the user or for the cyber criminal is used. It is going to be unlocked when they have a decryption key. What are the protocols required? Explain how these things, this is a very important part. Whenever we talk about the protocols and all, then validation. We have a validation and verification. Validation we always like about to check the data at the time of entry. Like once a user is entering a data, then you should be aware of this. So you are not allowing someone to feed some information which is not related. Like you wanted to collect the email address, then you have to make that particular field as your related field. So no one going to write anything over there, only the email. Then the protocol which you have to discuss, the validation we have to discuss, and the verification is mean like once the data has been entered into a computer system, is it correct or not? Like write the spelling of Ahmad. So I'm writing Ahmad. So is it correct spelling or not? That is a verification. You have to write the name and the data should be string. It is a validation. So verifying the spelling, it is known as verification. As you said, so I write AD. So ED and AD, it is a verification. There are two ways to verify the data, visual or double entry. Virtual means to verify okay, what is the change in both, or again, just remove the first part. Like if I don't know okay, I think the correct spelling or not, but again, I removed it and I typed it again. So this is called as VNG. When you talk about the page altogether online, which is currently in use, real-time processing, you are entering a data. At the same time, the data needs to be processed, like an airline ticket booking. Airline are not aware that how many of the people is trying to book their tickets at the same time. So real-time processing. So this chapter is going to help you out to understand. This is a major area. In IT, you should aware of this information. Got it? So if you have any query, any question, you can ask me right now, or maybe you can write in the comment box, so I can reply. Got it? So let's begin with the topic data. As I mentioned, the data can be a number, a raw number, not a final number, raw number, raw letter, symbol, sound, or image. Okay, as I mentioned over here, with no meaning. So far, if the data do not have a proper meaning of it, then it is useless. That is called as like this numbers are the data. We do not have a proper meaning right now. But whenever we talk about this image, like see, what the image is doing, you are not aware of. So if there's some caption is mentioned over here, look at the detail of the image, and it's gonna be become a information. Like this thing. Whenever we talk about the information part, so you should aware of when the data and item are given context and the meaningful, okay, then it's become a information. Otherwise, it's still called as a raw data. As it's mentioned over there, a person reading the information will then know what it means. That is become a your knowledge. So over here, see the data, context, and the comment. So this is a combination of whatever the raw information you have, then with the proper meaning, it's going to create their information. Got it? So far it is clear. Whenever we talk about data sources, see, as I told you, data source is playing a very important role over here. So data source first is direct source. As I mentioned, for what purpose you are collecting data? The primary source. It's mentioned over there. See, data collected from a direct data source, primary source, must be used for the same purpose for which it was collected. If some information is collected for survey, it should be used in the same survey. For example, if the survey is for the medical record, but it is using for the clothing brand, it's not a direct source. It is considered as indirect source. Okay? So indirect source is like data is collected for an indirect data source, secondary source, already exists for another purpose. Also, it may have been collected by the person who intend to use it. It was often collected by a different person or whenever you are collecting the data, maybe sometime, whenever you talk about direct or indirect, some companies plan that they collect the data once only. Then we are not going to collect the data from the customer or from the user for the next purpose. Maybe the first purpose is only about how many users are using a WhatsApp application, for example. So if they collect the data for the WhatsApp application, how many users are using the WhatsApp, and if WhatsApp is introduced another application and they use the same data for that purpose, it is called as indirect data source. Got it? So this is very much important, or the difference between the direct data source and indirect data. Again, direct data source means that they have a proper purpose and the use of the data in the same purpose. Indirect means you already have a data with you, but you are using for some other purpose. But the data is collected by me only. It's not only about the I collected your data and sell it out to Ahmed, and Ahmed is earning a money. Something is unethical. It's all about I have collected my data from my students about feedback of myself. And if I'm introducing a new course and sending a message to you all that see I'm offering a new course, that means I collected the data for feedback purposes, but now I'm using for marketing purpose of myself. So indirect data source. Got it? Is it clear? It makes sense? Okay. Now let's discuss about the advantage and disadvantages, or we can say the general rules of collecting the data. Okay? Direct data and indirect data. So whenever we talk about collecting the data and indirect data, it's mentioned the general rules that is collected directly for the purpose for which it is intent is more likely to be accurate and relevant than the data it is obtained from the existing indirect data. So whenever we talk about the direct data, we should remember the relevance because it's needed to collect. Whenever we talk about additional means additional data that is not required. Data will exist, may be taken to sort through and some data that is required. Second part, original source. Whenever we talk about the original source, trusted one. Someone gives you data, trusted one. This is the original, but not in every case. Maybe the main person is not aware of it. See, it is clearly mentioned. The original source may not be known before what purpose you collected and can't be assumed that data is also reliable. For example, again, I collected the data for the future purpose and now I'm sending the message for new classes. If you pass out, then this message is useless for you. It's the same thing. So it can't take long time to gather the original data rather than using that already exists. Same thing, immediately available. You have to take long time to gather it. But once you have the data, then you can use immediately. There's no time required to collecting the data. This is the advantage we can say in additionally for the indirect data. When we talk about again direct data, a large sample of statistical data can be difficult to collect for one purpose. That is true. It's very difficult. Statistically, analyze the required that there are more likely to be a large sample available because you already collected the data. Once you already collected the data, then you do not require to think about okay, it's difficult to collect the long data. You already have the information. You have to just analyze the information for your purpose. So these are all about the advantage of the general rules. So whenever you talk about the direct sources or indirect. Do you have any query or question on this topic? Good. So furthermore, with the extent of the same question, the data is likely to be up to the data because it has been collected recently. So this is accuracy. So how long up to date? If you collected recently, that is good for you. Maybe someone is not eligible for the same data. So indirect source, maybe the data is out of date because a different time has been collected. So mention collected at a different time. Another part, bias can be eliminated by asking a specific question. There is no bias. Original data may be biased due to the source. Whatever the source you collected, and indirectly, it's going to be biased. The last part, the data can be collected and presented in the format required. Whatever the format you require, you collect the data according to that. Like for example, you're looking for the name, phone number, and email address. First name, then the phone number and the email, the same form. Okay. Whenever we talk about indirect source, the data is unlikely to be in the proper form. Maybe in other research, you require the email only, or maybe email on the first column, and then the number. So this is not in the same way. Then you have to extract the data. Got it? It makes sense. It's not that much difficult, right? Believe me. Okay, once you studied, once you go through with the notes, once you are ready and get to know that okay, what is the direct source and indirect source as I mentioned. Direct means you are collecting the data for the same purpose and using for the same purpose. Indirect data, you already have the data, and you are using for some other purpose. Not the same purpose for the data has been collected. Got it? Okay. Okay. So now the next part and the second topic is about the quality of the. Whenever you talk about the quality, There are some important areas which we are going to discuss on that particular topic, like accuracy, level of access, and competences, age, this type of the things you require when you talk about the quality of it. Okay, like as you can see on the screen, the first part is accuracy, how accurate the data is. Information that is inaccurate is clearly not good enough for your research or the data collection. Okay, it's mentioned over there, it's not put very clear. Okay, in inaccurate data, like I'm looking for the data for students who are appearing in A level from the A level IT, but I collected the data for the CS student. Not useful for me. As mentioned over here, the example, it's like imagine being told you that you need to check in at airport 45 minutes before your flight. So you turn up at 18:10 for 19:05 flight, only to find that you were actually supposed to check in 1 hour before the time. So whenever we talk about the decimal values, inaccurate decimal values, so there is a multiple spheres we have to talk about. Take example is given over there in inaccurate information includes like decimal points in that wrong place. For example, 90.30 instead of 903.00. The big blunder. Okay, inaccurate. Could suggest a product is much cheaper than it is really. Then misspell. Fair instead of fair. Okay, misspell the character. You're supposed to write this one, but unfortunately they write the license plate of this. Okay, this is accuracy. Okay, how accurate the data is. There is no mistake. After that, relevance. Its purpose. If you collect the data for marketing point of view, to which type of the market? Like you are looking for the student for A level, O level, AS level, bachelor's level, master's level, or you are looking for who? Because the information must be relevant to its purpose. Having additional information that is not required means that the user must search through the data to find what is actually required. And to collect the data, then you have to look for the relevant data. Examples already mentioned over here. Example is like examples of irrelevant information include being given us the bus timetable when you want to catch the train. Being told the rental price of a car when you want to buy relevant information. A user guide for a mobile phone that includes instruction on how to assemble a bulb. Okay? Then age. Whenever talking about the age criteria. I just mentioned, you can see on the screen, must be up to date in order to be useful. Old information, it is like to be out of the date. Therefore, no longer used. The age of information. When use indirect data source, it's always check and the information was produced. So we are talking about now how long. Whenever we studied about the curriculum, like your syllabus, when you are studying a new thing, you look for the syllabus. If the teaching is the old course one or the new course one, the age of the information. Something published in 2021, and we are talking about 2025. Some research has happened in 2020, and we are talking about 2025. If some research has happened in 900 century, and we are talking about 2000. So we have to see what is the age of the. We have to see. Some research took the place in, like as mentioned, the number of the residents in the town based on census from 2021 to 2011, but 500 new homes have been built to the age, whatever the information. Whenever they give so about the rugby sport or the cricket match, before the 5 minutes, like 5 overs play in the cricket match, score is different. After 10 overs, the score is different. So the age of the information. Another part, level of detail. How good quality of the information is. The right amount of information good. Detail. Like example over here, a person order a pizza. They ask a large pepperoni to deliver. They forget to say what type of the base they want to and where it should be delivered incomplete. You require the proper complete information whenever we talk about the order. So it's all about like level of details. You are ordering a book. Whenever we are booking like ordering online, they ask us a detailed form like our name, our phone number, email address, a street address, house address, state address, PIN number. Why they want? Because they require the proper information about you. So whenever they wanted to deliver something to you, they should have a proper information. If you did not give a proper or complete information, it's very difficult to find the exact required. Like you collect maximum information, and if you wanted to remove something, you can easily do it. Okay. Last part, completion. Whenever we talk about this information, you required all the good qualities, necessary information. You wanted to book the phone, book the information, you're looking for that thing. Okay.